What's up guys, welcome to another video. In today's video I will be talking about the top 5 reasons why Joe Biden won the 2020 election. Make sure to watch the entire video because it will be very interesting. Number 1. Coronavirus. Maybe the main motivation Biden won the administration was something totally out of his control. The COVID pandemic, just as asserting in excess of 230,000, likewise changed American life and governmental issues in 2020. What's more, in the last days of the overall political race, Donald Trump himself appeared to recognize this. With the phony news, the president said at an assembly a week ago in Wisconsin, where cases have spiked lately. The media center around COVID, nonetheless, was a reflection as opposed to a driver of the public's anxiety about the pandemic, which converted into negative surveying on the president's treatment of the emergency. A survey a month ago by Pew Research proposed Biden held a 17-rate-point lead over Trump when it came to certainty about their treatment of the COVID flare-up. The pandemic and the resulting monetary decrease thumped Trump off his favored mission message of development and success. It likewise featured worries that numerous Americans had about his administration over its intermittent absence of center, the inclination for addressing science, indiscriminate treatment of strategies enormous and little, and prioritization of the sectarian. The pandemic was a lead weight on Trump's endorsement evaluations, which, as indicated by Gallup, plunged to 38% at one point in the late spring, one that the Biden lobby abused. Number 2. Low-key campaign. Throughout his political vocation, Biden set up an all-around acquired standing for talking himself into inconvenience. His inclination for errors crashed his first official mission in 1987 and guaranteed that he never had a very remarkable shot when he ran again in 2007. Joe Biden, 40 years of political aspiration in his third pursuit the Oval Office. Biden actually had a lot of verbal staggers, however, they were adequately inconsistent that they never turned out to be in excess of a transient issue. Part of the clarification for this, obviously, is that the president himself was a persistent wellspring of a consistent pattern of media reporting beat. Another factor was that there were greater stories, the COVID pandemic, fights after the passing of George Floyd, and monetary interruption, ruling public consideration. However, probably some credit ought to be given to a deliberate technique by the Biden lobby to restrict their applicants' openness, keeping a deliberate speed in the mission, and limiting the odds that exhaustion or thoughtlessness could make issues. Maybe in a typical political race, when most Americans weren't stressed over restricting their own openness to an infection, this procedure would have reverse discharges. Possibly at that point Trump's disparaging hidin Biden punches would have caused significant damage. The mission tried to avoid the way and let Trump be the one whose mouth double-crossed him, and, eventually, it paid off. Number 3. Anybody but Trump. The prior week's final voting day, the Biden lobby divulged its last TV adverts with a message that was surprisingly like the one offered in his mission the opening shot a year ago and his assignment acknowledgement discourse in August. The political race was a fight for the spirit of America, he stated, and a possibility for the country to put what he portrayed as the disruptiveness and disorder of the previous 4 years behind it. Underneath that trademark, in any case, was a basic count. Biden wagers his political fortunes on the dispute that Trump was too polarizing and excessively incendiary, and what the American public needed was a more settled, steadier administration. "I'm simply totally worn out by Trump's disposition personally," says Thierry Adams, a local of France who following 18 years living in Florida cast his first vote in an official political race in Miami a week ago. Liberals prevailing with regards to making this political race a submission on Trump, not a parallel decision between the two competitors. Biden's triumphant message was basically that he was not Trump. A typical shun Democrats were that a Biden triumph implied Americans could go for quite a long time without considering governmental issues. It was implied as a joke, however, it contained a part of the truth. Number 4. Stay in the center. During the mission to be the Democratic up-and-comer, Biden's opposition came from his left, with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who ran very much financed and coordinated missions that produced, live performance estimated swarms. Regardless of this pressing factor from his liberal flank, Biden stayed with a moderate procedure, declining to back general government-run medical care, free advanced degree, or an abundance charge. This permitted him to augment his appeal to moderates, and offended Republicans during the overall political race. This technique was reflected in Biden's decision of Kamala Harris as his running mate, when he might have selected somebody with more grounded uphold from the gathering's left wing. The one spot where Biden drew nearer to Sanders and Warren was on the climate and environmental change, maybe ascertaining that the advantages of engaging more youthful citizens, for whom the issue is a need, merited the danger of estranging electors in energy-subordinate swing state ventures. It was the special case, notwithstanding, that demonstrated the rule. It's no mystery that we've been condemning of vice presidents, Biden's arrangements and responsibilities previously, said Varshini Prakash, prime supporter of the natural lobbyist bunch the Sunrise Movement in July. He's reacted to a considerable lot of those reactions, drastically expanding the scale and desperation of speculations, filling in subtleties on how he'd accomplish ecological equity and make great association occupations, and promising prompt activity. 5. More cash, less issues. Recently, Biden's mission coffers were running on void. He entered the overall political race at a concluded detriment to Trump, who had spent for all intents and purposes his whole administration storing up a mission reserve that moved toward $1 billion. From April forward, nonetheless, the Biden lobby changed itself into a raising money juggernaut, and, partially as a result of wickedness with respect to the Trump lobby, wound up in a lot more grounded monetary situation than his rival. Toward the start of October, the Biden lobby had $144 million more money available than the Trump activity, permitting it to cover the Republicans in a downpour of TV publicizing in pretty much every important landmark state. Cash isn't all that matters, obviously. 4 years back, the Clinton lobby had a sizable money-related lead over Trump's shoestring activity. In any case, in 2020, when in-person crusading was shortened by COVID and Americans, the nation over-invested impressively more energy burning through media in their homes, Biden's money advantage let him arrive at electors and push his message out until the end. It permitted him to grow the electing map, placing cash into what once appeared to be long-shot states like Texas, Georgia, Ohio, and Iowa. The vast majority of those wagers didn't pay off, yet he put Trump on the protection, flipping what was once dependably traditionalist Arizona and remaining exceptionally serious in Georgia. Cash gives crusade choices and activity, and Biden set out to really utilize his bit of leeway.